Hello and welcome to the Brick Shack. So I thought I'd bring you something a little bit different today, and unfortunately it's not about anything to do with Lego at all, but this is another hobby of mine that I collect quite a lot of, and it's something I want to make videos about anyway. Now, as the channel is called The Brick Shack, I want the channel to be about this place here, this room. So I don't want to just restrict it to all things bricks. Now, of course, that will be primarily what we do on the channel. It will all be about Lego and, of course, Lego compatible products, as well as mocks and the other series that will be coming soon to the channel. But I want the Brick Shack to be about the shack and what it actually contains inside. So this video might not interest some of you at all, but some of you might have an interest in this, and that is my Hot Wheels collection. So I've collected quite a lot of Hot Wheels in the past year or two, and I believe I have about nearly 700 or so, and all of them are loose in these display cabinets. And as you can see, there's a total of 9 of these around the whole room. So what I thought I'd do is show you around and see what's inside them. So I think we'll start over at the left corner here. So starting at the top left, I believe we have Datsun and Nissan. So we have some trucks here and some 240Zs. Then we have some 300ZXs. Moving on to the 350Zs. Some of them have been quite modified as we move along. Then we move on to the Skylines. We have the R32s, the R33s over here, and then moving on to the R34s, and then of course the R35s as well. And then we have Sylvias along here, and then we move on to Mazdas. So we have the RX3s, the RX7s, and then we have the MX5s here, and these are quite personal to me as my car is a MX5, so we have quite a few Mark 1s along here, and then we have the Mark 4s. Unfortunately, there's no Mark 2s or 3s. And then we have a few Mitsubishis along here. So then we have Hondas, we have the NSXs, which are both generations of those. Then we have some Preludes, and I believe we have some Integras, if I'm not mistaken. CRXs, Civics, then we have the S2000s. And then we start to move on to Subaru here. We have some Imprezas, then we have Toyotas, we have the Celicas, we have MR2s, A86s. We can have a GT86 here along here. Now we're moving into the German section. We have quite a lot of Beetles along here, as well as some Golfs. Then we move on to Audi. We have the Audi Quattros. We have some RS models as well. And then we move on to the R8s. And then we move on to BMW along here. We have quite a few old classic BMWs there. And then moving along into the modern ones as well. And that's another thing that I've done when displaying these. I've put them all in sort of the year they were released. Now, they might not be quite accurate, but I just put it so like the BMWs there, all of the old ones start from the beginning, then it moves on to the later generations as we go along. So we even have more BMWs up here, and then we have quite a lot of Porsches. So we have quite a few of those. We have 944s, we have some 911s as well. We have some Carrera GTs along there, we have some 918s, GT3 RSs, and then we move on to Mercedes along here. We have quite a few A45s, we have some GTs, and we have some GT race cars, then we have some Bentley GT3s as well, and then we have some British classics along here. We have some MGs and Triumphs, as well as a Austin Healey or two, and then we have Aston Martin along here. So all of these now are British cars. So we start off with the DB5s onto the later models like the Vantages and the DB9s. And then moving along, we still have some Vantages along here. Moving on to the more rare exclusive cars like the 177s, as well as a few Aston Martin Vulcans along here as well. And then moving on to the next cupboard, we have Lotus. So we have quite a few old Lotuses there. And then we start to move on to Land Rover as well as Jaguar. So we have quite a few Jags in here as well. We have quite a few F-types, as well as Project 7s, and even Project 8s as well. And then we move on to McLaren. We have quite a few of these as well. We've got some 720Ss and P1s along here. Then we have some Sennas, some Speedtails, and of course McLaren F1s, as well as an F1 GTR. And then we've got some Cobras along here, as well as some Shelby Daytonas. And then we have the Alpines, as well as the Renault race cars along here. And then we have Bugatti. So we've got the EB110, as well as a couple of Chirons there. We've got some Kia Stingers. We've got a Lancia Delta Integrale. Unfortunately, we only have one Ferrari. And then we have a few Paganis as well. And then we have some Roadsters of those. And then we start with Lamborghini with a few Countaches. And then we move on to the second shelf where the Lamborghini section continues. Move on to the Hurricanes along here. And then we have the Aventadors. Unfortunately, we only have one normal Aventador, but we have quite a few Aventador J's along here as well. We do have some Zesto Elementos, as well as a couple Reventons and Centenarios. And then we have the Venenos along here. And that sums up the Lamborghini section before we move on to Volvo and then Koenigsegg as well. So we have quite a few Koenigsegg Jeschos and a Gemera there. And over here we have a few Polaris vehicles before moving on to the Hudsons. Then we have a few Cadillacs, as well as the GMC trucks. Then so we have some Jeeps over here. And then I believe these are Pontiacs along the bottom along here. So there's quite a few of those as well. And then I believe these are Plymouths, if I'm not mistaken. So we're heading into the sort of classics now. We have quite a few Gassers along here. We have quite a lot of those. And I believe we're moving on to the Chevys along here now. I quite like all these with the bright colours on them. Some really nice liveries along these ones. So the Chevy section is quite large. It takes up pretty much most of this cupboard here. But we even have some Bel Airs along the bottom edge here, as well as some Bel Air Nomads as well. And then we start to move on to the Camaros along the bottom. All sorts of different generations of the Camaro. Now for these three cupboards along here, they are above the Lego City. So the quality might not be so great, as I'm going to have to zoom in to show you these. But we still have even more Chevys here. We even start to move on to some Chevy trucks. So we have loads and loads of trucks. Then I believe we start to move on to the Corvettes along here. So we start from the oldest generation of Corvette all the way to the latest, the C8 Corvette. So we start to move into the C7s now. And then we start to move on to the C8s and of course the C8 race cars. And then we move on to Ford along the bottom here. Again, a few more trucks. And then we even have some Broncos there. Then we start to move on to the old school classic cars. So we have quite a few Ford Torinos along here, as well as some Ford Mavericks. Then we start to move on to the Escorts and of course the Focuses. And then we move on to the Mustangs. We have quite a lot of Mustangs. So we have all sorts of different generations of the Mustang. And then the Mustangs even carry over to the next cupboard. This is now the last cupboard of my collection. We even have the GT40s. And then we have the latest Ford GTs there, as well as their race car variants. And then finally, for the last ones, we have Dodge. So we have quite a few Dodge Chargers and of course Challengers along here. There's quite a lot of them. Quite a few with some flame liveries. I quite like those ones. And then we even move on to the Vipers. I'm quite a big fan of the Dodge Viper. And then finally we finish it off with a few Dodge trucks and Dodge vans. So that is quite the collection. I believe there's close to 700 cars in all of these 9 cupboards here. But as I am quite a big car guy, I do like to collect these Hot Wheels here. Now you may say that I've gone quite overboard with these. I do have quite a lot. No one really needs this many Hot Wheels, but I think they make great display pieces on the walls of the Brick Shack, and it gives a nice mix between Hot Wheels and Lego. So I know most of you here probably wouldn't have cared for this collection of Hot Wheels cars, as most of you here are probably for the Lego. But this is a video I wanted to make anyway, and some of you might have been interested in what's inside these cupboards, so there, now you know. So if any of you are interested in Hot Wheels cars or want to see more Hot Wheels on the channel in the future, please let me know down below in the comments. But that's all for today. I hope you've all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you all later.